This might be a little weird for people that know these movies really well, because this will probably be the most in-depth discussion you've ever heard about Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore. But it's always fun to, like the way you analyze, serious movies or art house movies, going back and analyzing movies like this, can be a kick.
And I'm sure it was.
Alright, it's almost midnight, and I'm extremely tired, so let's do this. Obviously, after the putrid mess that was Grown Ups 2, it's nice to look back and realize that Adam Sandler used to be somebody.
He used to be a contender.
He could have been a contender. He could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what he is.
Yeah.
I almost lost the line for a second. So, okay. These were always, obviously, his horrible, horrible production company now is named after these two movies because this is what he is known for.
Yeah.
It will be what he's known for forever. Even if he's in every Paul Thomas Anderson movie from now on, he's still going to be remembered for these.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah, rightfully so, because this was pretty much his peak. So, I guess we'll just get going. The first category will be the characters themselves. Billy versus Happy. Okay. They're similar in a lot of ways, but they're different in a lot of ways too, so it's kind of hard to say. The thing about Billy is he is this child in a man's body.
Yeah.
A very young man's body at that time. But the thing is he can be really, really annoying, like with the gibberish and the unable to grow up. But at the same time, his character actually goes through a lot of change. Like, well, it's already kind of there, too. Like, what really helps is the childish ways that he uses are not acceptable today, because he's, like, in his, 40s?
Yeah.
But him being a man-child is the whole plot of Billy Madison, so it's appropriate. The whole point of Billy Madison is he has to grow up. And not in the cheap-ass, grown-ups, forced drama way.
Yeah.
There's really not much forced drama in any of these, which helps. They keep the comedy pretty much right there. But despite the fact that he's, this annoying, obnoxious douchebag from the beginning portion of Billy Madison, he goes into, like when he helps Ernie in after he pissed his pants, or when he actually wants to start studying and actually take over Madison Hotels without, being lazy about it. There's also a moment where Billy has it in his head that there's a time to just be fucking around and a time to be serious, particularly in the scene where Brian calls him into the office and says, I have news. And joking around, Billy says, Eric is pregnant, and then he drags that joke out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like Adam Sandler does. But the thing is the movie knows he's dragging the joke out because he looks at his dad, and his dad's completely straight-faced, and he actually has this moment where he says, okay, I'll be serious now. And listens to what his dad's actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a real character in Billy. He's not just the obnoxious man-child throughout the whole thing.
Correct.
The thing that I kept bringing up to you was how weird it is that Billy Madison has friends and Happy Gilmore doesn't.
Mm.
Like, Happy Gilmore does not have a friend in this movie at all. He has a girlfriend that breaks up with him. He's trying to make Virginia his girlfriend. And Chubbs is his, mentor.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a legitimate friend at all.
He's got his grandma, but I guess that's the closest thing you'd have.
That doesn't really count either.
Yeah, that's true.
But, Happy's generally a decent guy. He just has a really bad temper. And he only has a temper because of his dad's death, which he says in the opening narration. When you're not pissing him off and when he's not beating the shit out of you, he's like a really nice guy. You know?
Yeah.
So, he doesn't really, I mean, I guess they both have those times where they're themselves, then they get better, then they relapse, and then they go back.
Yeah.
Like, with Billy, it was, he's obnoxious, then he starts to, do fairly well in school, but then Eric blackmails the principal, and that causes Billy to downfall back into leaving school and getting drunk and going back to lighting shit on people's doorsteps. But then he goes back to school and finishes.
Of course.
In Happy Gilmore, he's cussing and screaming and throwing putters and assaulting people. But then Virginia convinces him otherwise, and he doesn't drink the beer from the funnel, he doesn't throw the putter, he doesn't get into a fight.
Yeah.
But then Bob Barker happens, and he relapses. And then at the end he comes back on top.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same journey they take.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is Billy changes into a totally different person, more or less. Well, not completely. But, Happy doesn't really. I don't get a sense that even when he has the gold jacket and when he has Virginia and he's got a friend in his caddy now. I don't think his character and Chubbs' death changed him and everything, but I don't think you don't really get an idea that his character has changed much, because that's the thing about Billy. Their plots, though, is Billy Madison is about him having to change so he can do this. Happy Gilmore is basically he needs to get the house back, and once they have the house back, that's all that matters.
True.
Because remember, he didn't even keep the company at the end of Billy Madison. He gives it to Carl. So
yeah.
So as far as who's the better character, I guess if you look at it from that perspective, it'd be Billy. So that'd be where that point goes. That's not to undermine Happy in any way, because, they're both good characters. That's how the movies work.
Yeah.
But, see what I mean? Is this not ridiculously in-depth for movies like this?
It really is. Especially after what we just watched earlier today. It's kind of like, wow, this is kind of a refreshing conversation to have.
Okay, I'm trying to give Adam Sandler some dignity without mentioning Punch Drunk Love. That's or Spanglish, I guess.
I love Punch Drunk Love.
Alright, this one should be fun. The next one is, which one is the better villain? Bradley Whitford as Eric, or Christopher McDonald as Shooter?
Good God.
Okay, here's the interesting thing about Eric, is, he's introduced as a douchebag immediately, so we know what his deal is.
Yeah.
It's when he's standing there with Carl, and he says, I'm starving, and Carl says, I had some Triscuit crackers in the car, you should have had some. It's like, well, if you had told me they were delicious Triscuit crackers, I could have enjoyed them with you. Sorry, does it put them in my stomach? No, does it? But the very interesting thing about Eric that I would like to know more about, and this is such a mystery to me, like, Billy Madison shrouds secrets in their characters here. When the movie starts, the rivalry between Billy and Eric seems to already be there.
Yeah. From
like a previous thing, but we never learn about that. The rivalry is just there already. We know why Eric would hate him, because Eric wants the company for his own greedy purposes, and Billy's gonna get it without working, just because he's in the family.
Yeah.
But there seems to be, I mean, I know Eric's just a genuine douchebag, and that's probably why Billy doesn't like him. But we're never remotely hinted at what could have happened exactly that turned Billy so against Eric. It's just already there.
Maybe it's the brother syndrome, like, where the dad, like, focuses most of his energy on one brother and not the other, so it's more like sibling rivalry. That's the only thing I can think of.
Like when,
and at midnight, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, because that scene I was talking about when he calls him into his office, it's to tell him that he's going to give Eric the company and not him.
Yeah.
Which you think would have been the start of the rivalry, but the rivalry seemed to already be there before this even took place, so that's interesting. Your theory could work too. I don't know.
That's the only thing that comes to my mind.
But, and yeah, Bradley Whitford is very, I'd go as far as to say Bradley Whitford is more sinister in this than he was in Cabin in the Woods.
I agree with that.
Because he's got the creepy office with the black and gray walls, and he's got the mouse that he keeps in the cage, and he's got this creepy thing going on.
He's like he's a villain of some sort.
Yeah, it's like he's in the wrong movie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's like, shouldn't you be a villain in Wall Street or something? But that's what makes it funny, because he's so over the top sinister and such a but as great as that character is, Shooter Mcgavin is just a legend.
Yeah, he is.
There's just, where do you even start talking about Shooter McGavin? He is, he's actually, maybe just as evil, but not in, like, the,
malicious way?
Yeah, like, Shooter McGavin would never kill Happy Gilmore.
No.
Or think about it.
He'd get someone else to do it for him.
Like, even in that scene at the bar, when he says, I'm gonna kick your ass, and Shooter says, I'd like to see you try, and he breaks the beer bottle. Shooter actually just says, I meant kicking your ass on a golf course. That's it.
Just to make it known exactly what he's thinking.
Yeah, the fanboys might love this, but I'd choose Christopher McDonald anytime.
Yeah.
But I think I can't remember if they were original choice and they couldn't get it, or if he auditioned and they rejected him. But at one point, Shooter McGavin could have been Bruce Campbell.
Oh my God. What could have been, folks?
But no, I've got Christopher McDonald such in my head now, I can't, stray from it.
No.
He's got a lot of great... He's actually, Eric has some funny scenes, but Shooter is like... Shooter's probably the funniest character in the movie.
Yeah.
While being a great villain. Which is quite a step to take. Your favorite line in the world, damn you people, go back to your shanties.
Yes, I still use it to this day.
I always love his encounter with the beach ball. Damn you people, this is golf, not a rock concert. And he just screams putt at the guy, and then he makes the putt after all that anger.
Yeah.
There's the great moment where he actually tries to do the happy way of swinging and fails.
Yeah. His conversations with Mr. Larson.
Both of them.
Yes. Lines we still use to this day.
That moment with his caddy. I'm not positive. It's kind of hard to tell because you don't really get a look at their faces.
Mm.
You remember the scene where he asks for one. He's thinking about one club, and the caddy suggests another.
Yeah. But
he chooses his own club, and the caddy gives him the one he was suggesting.
Yep.
And he fires the caddy, even though he made the shot.
Well, you're fired.
I'm not positive, but I think if you look close enough, I think almost every time we see Shooter, he has a different caddy.
That sounds right.
Like this happens in succession.
No one wants to work with him. I can understand that.
And he's firing them.
Yes.
I just love his. He just exudes that villainy perfectly.
Yes.
There's pretty much. If I were to give you great examples of his villainy, I have to tell you pretty much every scene he's in. Particularly when he actually goes out of his way to buy Happy's grandma's house. Just to be competitive.
I'm going to burn your house. And piss on the ashes.
where we get the great line of, I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast. No, what's great is that, actually, I heard somebody else talking about this, but I forget who it was, but, what really sells that scene is, Shooter says, I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast. And Happy says, you eat pieces of shit for breakfast? It's the way he goes, no!
No!
So, yeah, Bradley Whitford is great in Billy Madison, and he's funny. He's got plenty of funny moments. But, of the two, obviously the better villain is Christopher McDonald in Happy Gilmore. Like I said, I'd love to go more into it, but I would just have to explain every scene that he's in. Next would be love interest.
Okay.
Which is Veronica versus Virginia.
That V thing you talked about before.
Bridget Wilson versus Julie Bowen. Alright. Here's the problem is I love Julie Bowen, especially since Modern Family is like one of my favorite currently running shows. Virginia's a really boring character.
Yeah, she really is.
She's there to do PR, and that's all she does. She's just there to slightly drive Happy in the right direction and get pissy and wag her finger when he does something wrong. I don't even particularly like their date scene. Like, I mean, you know, the song "Endless Love."
Endless Love, yeah.
But just, you know, if I gotta get up during the movie, I wait for the date scene to happen, and that's when I go do whatever, and then I'll come back because right after that scene's the Bob Barker scene.
Yeah, it is.
Veronica is actually a really good character.
Agreed.
Because you can look at it like it's the tired formula of the love interest starts off hating him, and then she eventually falls under his spell.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because she's like one character that doesn't put up with his bullshit in the slightest.
Yep.
Like people talk about the mean-spiritedness of some of his movies now. That fat kid's trying to read. I just called him a fat kid. I'm mean-spirited too, I guess. He's trying to, because him being fat has nothing to do with anything. I just said that. There's a fatter kid in that class. I don't know why I picked on him, but
yeah,
he's making fun of him because he can't read.
He stutters too.
I can't tell if he stutters or if he just can't read. I've never really.
You mean when he goes today, Junior?
Everybody. But anyway, yeah, this guy's like 30.
Yeah.
And this is a 4th grader trying to read. Veronica actually drags him out of the classroom and calls him out on being a psychopath.
By his ear, drags him into the hallway.
Calls him out on being a psychopath because he would make fun of a child for reading, which, you know, is kind of true.
Yeah. I like when they're at the chalkboard and he's doing the cursive writing and brings up a baseball guy named Rizzuto, and then he does the Z, and if Z is one of the hardest things in the world to do is a cursive. It really is sometimes. Well, no, when you're growing up, it's hard to, like, grasp it right away, and he's like, and he's like, is that Rurudo? And they makes fun of him just like he made fun of the other children in class.
And the great thing about her is, usually in that tired formula where the love interest hates him at first and then falls under his spell, it's really unrealistic. Like, it'll just be 1 minute hate, next minute sex. But,
yeah, that's not realistic at all.
Their relationship in the movie is actually very gradual.
Yeah.
Like, almost realistically.
Agreed.
And the way she starts to fall for him when he starts changing. So, it's not just a tired thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually, when he relapses, she doesn't stand by and, like, cry for him and, like, beg him to come back. She beats the shit out of him.
Like the song, which we'll talk about later.
So yeah, this is no competition. That love interest goes to Billy Madison because Veronica and Virginia battles like, I mean, any other circumstance, I would take Julie Bowen over Bridget Wilson any day.
But
Because
for this movie,
I actually find them to be, you know, the. Nobody's even seen Mrs. Sampras for quite some time now. When was the last time? I Know What You Did Last Summer.
That
Combat.
might be right.
Alright. So, Billy Madison has 2 and Happy has 1. I'm pretty sure this time.
We on round 4?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Next would be,
I think.
I guess next we'll do, SNL Cameo. I'm pretty sure Ben Stiller was on SNL at one point, but don't quote me on that.
I forgot to look into it.
Best extended cameo is what this is.
Okay.
Which would be Chris Farley versus Ben Stiller. Farley as the bus driver and Stiller as the orderly. This one's pretty easy for me too, because here's the thing. Farley as the bus driver never gets old.
No.
Just his reveal, like the kid just lightly throws that I mean, I know you throw your sandwich at somebody, you're going to disturb them, but that sandwich just lightly whacked him on the shoulder, and he turns around and just screams. That Farley scream. And then
I'll turn this bus around right now.
What I love that you kind of have to listen for. After he says, that'll end your precious little field trip pretty damn quick, he sits there and he just kind of twitches, and you hear him go, shit!
True Chris Farley fashion.
And then I fucking love when the lunches are stolen, and she asks who would steal 30 lunches, and it's fucking him and Norm Macdonald and the other guy. Norm Macdonald and, I can't remember the guy that plays Jack's name, but, where did they fucking come from?
Is it Horatio Sands?
Nah.
I know I'm thinking of, but I can't.
He's in that Damon Wayans movie, Mo Money, but I can't remember his real name. But anyway, the thing with Stiller is there's actually like 2 things wrong with Stiller. I mean, it's a funny thing. Like the you can choke me for a warm glass of shut the hell up, and you will go to sleep or I will put you to sleep. And the handlebar mustache.
You're in my world now, Grandma. And
of course, the later scene with now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Wow, that's a tremendous looking trophy. The trouble is the Stiller character kind of wears out his welcome after a while because they kind of overuse him. And secondly, this is cleared up in a deleted scene, but I'm going by the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Happy has this horrible temper. He beats the shit out of anybody that remotely crosses him.
Yeah.
And this orderly is just awful to his grandmother, who is, you know, the person that he's caring for.
Mm-hmm.
Through the whole reason for the movie is his grandma.
Yeah.
In the movie, nothing becomes of this character. He's just gone. After that, when they get the house back, they just leave. Obviously, if you watch the deleted scenes, or you see it when they play it on TV, they put the deleted scene in.
Really?
Happy ends up finding out, and he throws him out of a window. But I found it really weird to not have that payoff after the whole thing seemed to be building to that. I don't know. They didn't really handle that very well.
Sounds like it.
So, best extended cameo would go to Farley. Which I'm sure Ben Stiller would not mind.
No.
It's
quite a beating right now for Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore's falling behind. Well, here's the thing. Well, I'll get to that'll be my ending thought. We're gonna extend cameo and go into the supporting cast.
Okay.
Let's see. Billy Madison has. There's Norm Macdonald. There's Larry Hankin as Carl. There's the O'Doyles. There's those 2 nerds that he hangs out with.
Did you consider the Penguin?
Sure. Juanita.
Yeah.
Danny McGrath. Buscemi. Happy Gilmore has Kevin Nealon, Joe Flaherty, Chubbs.
Bob Parker. Technically.
I guess Dennis Dugan to an extent.
Alan Covert.
Yeah. I guess some of the teachers and Billy Madison as well.
Mm-hmm.
The tour guide that you love so much.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that before even analyzing them, all of these supporting characters are taught by Norm Macdonald and Billy Madison, and I'll tell you why. It was actually pointed out to me, but I never thought about it until I watched it again recently. Supporting characters generally have lines that don't really drive anything. Like they're there to kind of drive the scene, or they're there just to be, end the dialogue.
Pad the runtime.
Just whatever. Just to have the character talking so they're not irrelevant.
Yeah.
Literally, there is not one instance otherwise. Every single line that Norm Macdonald has in Billy Madison is hilarious. There is not one thing he says that is not funny.
I agree. But I'm a big Norm Macdonald supporter anyway.
From his very first line of the movie is one word, and it's hilarious. It's when Billy's trying to remember what's going on, and he's like, "What's today?" And Norm's response is, "October." Your first line of the movie is one word. And it's that funny.
Yeah.
You know you're in for a good character. And then the next time we see him, his next line is, who would you rather burn, Meg Ryan or Jack Nicholson? And what's great about this is he thinks about it, and he says Meg Ryan. But the thing is if you watch Norm's face right before they start pounding for the pickle race, Norm looks puzzled that he chose Meg Ryan.
That's the genius of Norm Macdonald.
And you gotta love the, hey, you want to feed that donkey some beer and get it all messed up? Maybe later. I'll go put some beer in a bucket.
It's like when he was at a roast a couple years ago, and he killed. He killed because the comics understood him. The crowd didn't get it, but the comics on the dais got it.
And of course, he didn't even have to say anything. There's the scene where Eric's looking around to try and figure out who's going to help him bring Billy down.
Yeah.
And when he sees Norm's like, he's like in front of this conga line, and he's holding a hamburger on his head.
Norm Macdonald cannot be stopped.
But anyway, yeah, there's plenty of supporting characters in Billy Madison, but Norm just tops them all. Like, Norm could just be their ambassador here. Their spokesperson. Happy has, some decent ones, like, Kevin Nealon's really funny, like, harness energy block band. The whole send him home thing.
That's great. I like Joe Flaherty myself.
Yeah.
He's also got a one-word line as well.
I really love his creepy infatuation with Shooter that's never really touched on.
And going to the Sizzler and getting food.
Shooter, I thought we were going to be friends. I'll be at the Red Lobster in case you change your mind.
God bless! It's just so out there, too.
You gotta love Happy Gilmore's first caddy.
Yeah.
I love
the guy looks like Billy Joe Armstrong.
Yeah. When he tackles him for grabbing the clubs, and he decides he's going to hang on to him, and he's like, what should I do? And it's like, just make sure I don't do anything stupid. And then he's in the guy's way, and he can't make the shot, and then he goes over to the caddy. Where were you on that one, dipshit? And the caddy's just clueless.
Mr. Larson.
Yeah, Richard Keel, who's best known for being Jaws in the Bond movies, and he's the alien in the famous "To Serve Man" episode of The Twilight Zone.
I know him as him and Jackie Chan in Cannonball
I was
Run.
afraid you were going to say
Of course, that's how I know him.
Mr. Larson is a great character.
Yes, he is. And you can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot.
Despite having put the nail in his head, he's so nice to have. and defends him. I'm pretty sure the camera dissolves into the next scene. I'm pretty sure he beat Shooter to death.
I'm sure he did.
Over the jacket.
He has that "guns don't kill people" shirt that Brian Pillman used to wear back in the day. He has to hit. The shooter has to tee it off his foot, and he complains about it.
I had to hit it on Frankenstein's fat foot.
No, the rules say play it where it lies.
So, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's another character besides Norm that's great in Billy Madison. I know there's a few. Look, Carl's a good character.
Carl's a good character.
I love the scene where he's... Carl's basically, all of Brian's associates think Billy's an idiot, but
Yeah.
Carl's the one that's, friends with him and, nice to him. Carl's the first one that he greets when he comes down for dinner, because they're buddies, basically.
Yeah.
And there's that great scene in the tent where Carl interrupts them when they're about to do something, and he talks about how he thinks, Eric's got something brewing.
Mm-hmm.
He said then he did that weasel laugh, and he proceeds to badly imitate the weasel laugh. And Billy says, that sounded just like him, and Carl just has this nonchalant, thanks. Larry Hankin's great. He's the, I can't remember what he came from. I think he came from, one of the well-known comedy groups. Like
Second City, The Groundlings.
He's the guy...
ECB.
He's the guy that works at the police station in Home Alone, and he's the guy at the when they renew their vows in Vegas Vacation.
He's Kramer in the pilot.
Yeah.
No raisins this time in this movie.
Recently, he was the creepy priest in Pain and Gain that
Dwayne
beat the
Johnson
shit out of.
destroyed.
So yeah, if Norm acting alone against the whole Happy Gilmore cast,
Oh man,
I'd take Madison.
I love Happy Gilmore, but okay. How long has it been? Did you watch Happy Gilmore recently?
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure, because I know you watched Billy Madison recently. Because that was mentioned to me.
Alright, even though it's already over, the last thing is which one's funnier.
Jeez.
Well, the thing is, it's just a matter of, I don't know. Well, here's the problem. I think I've seen Happy Gilmore more than I've seen Billy Madison.
Same here.
So the jokes have had more time to wear down, so it might be at a disadvantage.
I could see that.
But, last time I watched Billy Madison, it was a lot funnier than I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid it was going to be worn down. Well, here's where I came to this conclusion. What I was going to do was, which was the best, basically, money scene. Obviously the money scene of Happy Gilmore is the Bob Barker fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of what would be the equivalent of the Bob Barker fight in Billy Madison.
Mm-hmm. And
I couldn't think of one. But then I realized that's because, Billy Madison has so many classic scenes in it. You have, basically many of the things we mentioned, plus other things. I'm losing my mind.
The song.
It's 12:30 now. Yeah, the musical number.
The Decathlon.
Yeah.
I'll help you with this, because we've already chatted about this before.
Yeah,
What ideas for this versus?
Yeah, I was going to do the Decathlon versus the tournament in Happy Gilmore, but it's... Number one, this race is already over, and number two, they're pretty much equal. It's what I liked about what both these movies did with those is when you reach the end competition, it's usually the good guy getting killed, but then he comes back at the end and makes a comeback. Both the Decathlon and the tournament, the hero and the villain make it pretty even through the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So Billy's even up by 1 point at the end of the Decathlon before the questions.
It's true.
Oh, another great supporting character from Billy Madison was the guy that runs the Decathlon.
Yes.
What you've just said is the most insanely idiotic thing I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
He's just trying to put over the puppy who lost his way.
Yeah, but if you listen to his speech, it makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, yeah.
If you're high, maybe, but that doesn't work for me.
So I'm tempted to give Billy this point also, because I think it holds up better of the two. But like I said, I don't know if that's because I've seen Happy Gilmore more times.
Christopher McDonald is hanging on this life raft right now, just saying, "Please save me! I'm the only person that got a point."
I seriously thought this battle would be closer than it was.
I did too.
But
I am blown away by the way that this went.
But, you know...
Alright.
Yeah, so obviously Billy Madison wins this thing.
No annotations needed for that part.
The thing about these movies is when they initially came out, and I believe still today, the critics aren't fans.
No.
But the thing is these are, like, classic movies now.
Yeah.
Like, some of the weird, like, the Ping, like, I can see, like, myself being a critic in 1995 and seeing the Penguin for the first time and thinking, what in the fuck is this? Especially in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, no lie.
And the Penguin is now a classic thing.
Yeah.
I particularly love when he's in Veronica's house with the martini glass. And Billy thinks there's foul play.
Of course.
But yeah. So this was actually a fairly simple battle when I didn't think it would be. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe maybe if I go a really long time without watching Happy Gilmore. Like, I did this with Liar Liar once. A while back, I watched Liar Liar again, and I hadn't for like 5 years. And it was like the first time. It was so fucking hilarious. So, you know, I guess time will continue to tell. But I'd like to think I've probably seen, I feel like I've seen Happy Gilmore more times.
I know I have.
But I'd like to think I've probably seen them about equal.
Mm-hmm.
And one feels like it really held up, and one feels like maybe not so much. But, I don't know. So, that's it for this one.
Next week?
Apparently that's to be determined. It could be one of two things.
Okay, so we may have a guest joining us if we go one way, and we may have an extremely action-packed version if we go the other.
Well, until then.